All right, so you want to boost that engagement on your Facebook page in 2025, huh?
Still a big deal, even if it feels a little old school sometimes, right?
Feels like ancient history almost, but it's not going anywhere, and neither are those
You
audiences.
just got to know how to work it, how to get that engagement humming.
So let's get into it.
Let's.
I was doing some digging online and came across this site, SocialWick. No, this isn't sponsored or anything.
Yep.
Just thought it was really interesting what they had to say about making Facebook work for you in 2025,
Yeah, they had some good points.
especially about the why behind engagement.
Hmm.
It's not just about getting those likes, is it?
It's way more than just likes. It's about how engagement plays with that Facebook algorithm.
Yeah.
You know, the more people like, comment, share, the more Facebook sees it as something valuable.
Right.
And that's when it starts showing it to more people.
So it's not just about how many, but how fast you get those likes.
Exactly. You want to snag that attention early on.
It gotta be quick.
Think of it like this. The algorithm's always looking for that content that's making noise.
Yeah.
The more engagement a post gets those first couple of hours,
Yeah.
the more likely it is to spread.
So how do we make that happen?
SocialWick had some interesting tips.
Yeah.
One that really stood out was the importance of authenticity.
So ditch the filters, show the messy reality.
Yeah, like think about it. Wouldn't you be more drawn to a cooking show that shows the kitchen mishaps along with that perfect final dish?
Oh, for sure.
Makes them more relatable, right?
Yeah.
It's like that local bakery, the kneading dough. They're always posting these behind-the-scenes videos of their bakers covered in flour, making mistakes, having fun.
Shows there are real people behind the brand.
Exactly.
And speaking of real people, SocialWick also talked about how important short videos are, like Reels.
Ah, yes. Reels crucial in 2025. Got to grab that attention fast.
Totally.
And Reels are made for that bite-sized, eye-catching, and easily shareable. Perfect for how people scroll these days.
Makes sense they'd be more effective than something long and drawn out.
For sure.
But how do you make your Reels stand out? I mean, everyone's doing them.
Right. You got to be smart about it.
Mm-hmm.
One way is to use those trending sounds and make them interactive.
Okay.
Like, imagine you're showing off your product using a popular sound clip. Then add a poll asking what features people like best.
I get it. Don't just tell them, ask them.
Bingo, you got it.
That makes a lot of sense. But even with the best content, wouldn't timing still be super important?
The timing is key. You got to post when your people are online.
Right.
Facebook Insights is your best friend for this.
Right.
It tells you when your followers are most active.
Right.
Then you can schedule those posts for maximum impact.
Got it. So Facebook Insights is homework now.
Definitely.
Okay, now this next topic from SocialWick kind of blew my mind. AI-powered chatbots. Are we talking sci-fi here?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine a chatbot that can actually have a conversation with someone on your page. Not just a generic bot, but one that can answer questions about your products, offer recommendations, even learn from each interaction.
I don't know, that sounds like something out of a movie.
I know, right? But it's becoming more and more common. These AI chatbots can give you 24/7 support, improve the user experience, and maybe even boost those conversions.
Okay, I can see how that'd be good, but wouldn't it feel kind of impersonal?
That's a good point. The key is to use them strategically for simple stuff like answering FAQs and giving basic info.
Yeah.
But for anything complex, anything where you need that human touch,
Yeah,
make sure there's a way for people to connect with a real person.
got it. AI is a sidekick, not a replacement.
Exactly.
Okay, and what about Facebook groups? They seem almost old school with all this fancy tech around.
Don't underestimate those groups. They can be amazing for engagement.
Really?
A well-run group is like a gold mine. It's a place for your most loyal fans to connect, discuss your brand, share experiences. Imagine a group where people who love your product can share tips, creations, troubleshoot together.
It's like a digital community center for your brand.
Exactly.
I love that. And SocialWick was also raving about user-generated content. They called it engagement gold.
It really is. Think about it. Seeing real people loving your product is way more convincing than any fancy ad.
Right, that makes sense.
It's authentic, relatable, and it works.
So how do we get people to create and share their experiences?
There are a few ways. You could run a contest, offer discounts for sharing photos, even just highlight awesome user-generated content on your page. The key is to inspire your audience and give them a place to express themselves.
So many great ideas. I'm taking notes. This is a lot to process, but I'm feeling really inspired already. Can we recap before we get deeper into this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've covered authenticity, leveraging short-form videos like Reels,
Right.
making them interactive, and being smart about timing.
And we touched on AI chatbots and how Facebook groups are still relevant.
Yep.
But I'm curious what really stood out to you from SocialWick.
For me, it wasn't so much a specific tactic, but more a change in mindset. They were all about the idea that it's not just about likes and comments.
Okay.
It's about building real connections that turn followers into a community.
No, that's interesting. Tell me more about building those meaningful connections,
Well, it's all about understanding that people crave genuine interaction.
especially in a digital world like this.
Exactly. They want to feel seen, heard, understood. So instead of thinking of engagement as just numbers,
Hmm.
we need to think of it as a way to build relationships.
So less look at me, more let's connect. I like that. But how do we actually do that on Facebook? How do we go beyond likes and comments and build a real community?
It starts with listening. Pay attention to the conversations on your page and in your groups.
Okay.
What are people talking about? What are their pain points? What excites them?
It's like doing market research, but more naturally.
Exactly. Once you understand your audience, you can make content that really resonates with them.
Right.
Content that gets people talking, encourages sharing, and makes them feel like they belong.
That reminds me, SocialWick also talked about the power of just asking questions.
Oh yeah, asking questions is huge. It's a simple but powerful way to boost engagement and learn more about your audience. It shows that you actually care what they have to say and it gets them involved.
Instead of just announcing a new product, you ask what features people want.
Exactly. Or let's say you're a fitness coach. Instead of just posting workouts, ask your followers what their biggest fitness challenges are or what motivates them to stay active.
I bet you get some amazing responses.
You would be surprised.
Okay, now we talked a lot about AI chatbots, but SocialWick also mentioned some downsides to using them too much. Did that worry you at all?
It's all about balance. Chatbots can be great for handling those basic questions and giving instant answers.
Right.
But if they're not programmed well, they can feel impersonal or even frustrating.
Oh, I've totally been there stuck in a chatbot loop that's not helping at all. Makes you
Yeah.
feel like you're talking to a wall.
Exactly. So use chatbots strategically for things like FAQs.
Okay.
But for anything complicated, anything that needs a human touch,
Yeah.
make sure there's an easy way for people to talk to a real person.
So use tech to help, but don't replace that human connection. Speaking of connection, I think we should talk more about Facebook groups. We touched on how good they are for community building,
Yeah,
but I think there's a lot more to say there.
I agree. Groups can turn those passive followers into active, engaged members of your community.
I like that.
It's where people can connect with others who get them, ask questions, offer support, even collaborate.
Like a virtual clubhouse for your brand's biggest fans.
Exactly. And it all starts with purpose. What's the heart of your group? What conversations do you want? What value will you give to members?
Right.
Once you have that vision, you can attract the right people and make them feel like they belong.
So it's about creating a welcoming space where people feel valued.
Yeah. And it's about being an active moderator yourself. Join discussions, answer questions, give encouragement, make sure everyone feels heard.
It's almost like hosting a great party. You set the tone, make introductions, keep the conversations going, and make sure everyone feels comfortable.
That's a great way to put it. And just like a good party, the best Facebook groups are the ones where people feel like they can be themselves, share their thoughts, and connect.
I love that analogy. Okay, so we've talked about building a strong community both on your main page and in groups, but what about all the other Facebook stuff? Do things like stories or events still matter in 2025?
Totally. It's easy to get distracted by new trends, but all those Facebook features can work if you use them, right?
Don't forget about the classics.
Right, like Facebook stories are still great for behind-the-scenes content, giving people a peek into your world and creating a feeling of you had to be there.
It's a more casual way to connect. What about events?
Events are still relevant. They're great for promoting anything online or in-person workshops,
Yeah.
product launches, you name it.
Yeah.
They generate excitement and get people talking.
It's a marketing tool built right in, so
Yeah.
don't limit yourself to just one or two strategies.
Exactly.
Experiment, get creative, and find what works for your audience.
Right. And remember, Facebook is always changing. You got to stay curious, learn, and adapt.
It's like we're all on this crazy social media roller coaster.
And that's part of the fun.
True. It is fun. There's always something new to learn, a new approach to try, a new way to connect with our people.
You got it.
I'm feeling inspired, but I also have to admit this whole engagement thing can feel overwhelming. It's easy to get caught up in the pressure to constantly chase those algorithms and measure everything by likes and comments.
I hear you. It can be exhausting trying to keep up.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important to step back sometimes and remember what really matters.
Or sanity.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that too. But I meant more like the quality of the connections we're making.
Oh.
Are we making content that truly adds value to people's lives?
Huh.
Are we building a community where people feel supported and inspired?
Those are the questions we should be asking, not just how many likes we got.
Exactly. At the end of the day, the best Facebook strategies are about relationships, not just numbers.
That's a great point. It reminds us that social media is about connecting with other human beings,
Yeah.
and that should be at the heart of everything we do.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into Facebook engagement, what's one action you're going to take this week to boost engagement on your page?
Ooh, good question.
Will you try using Reels in your content strategy experiment with asking more questions in your posts? Or maybe you'll finally start that Facebook group you've been thinking about.
I love all those ideas.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, don't wait. Just take that first step. See what happens and keep learning.
Yeah.
Remember, Facebook's always changing. So be curious, be adaptable, and most importantly, be yourself.
That's the perfect note to end on. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Facebook engagement in 2025. Until next time, keep experimenting, keep connecting, and keep those engagement fires burning.
See you next time.
Yeah.
It's about realizing, that people want that real interaction.
Yeah, especially online.
Exactly. They want to feel seen, heard,
Yeah.
actually understood. So instead of looking at engagement as just a numbers game,
Right.
it's got to be about building those relationships.
So less like look at me and more like let's chat. I like that. But how do we actually do that on Facebook? How do you go beyond just the likes and comments and really build that sense of community?
You got to start by listening.
Mm-hmm.
Pay attention to what people are saying on your page and in those groups.
Mm-hmm.
What topics are they into? What are they struggling with? What gets them excited?
It's like market research, but more organic,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And once you get your audience what they need, you can tailor your content to really hit home.
Okay.
Content that starts conversations, gets people sharing, and makes them feel like they belong.
That's what it's all about. And it reminds me, SocialWick was big on just asking questions.
Oh, asking questions is so important. It's simple, but it really works to boost engagement and actually learn about your audience.
Right.
It shows you're actually interested in what they have to say, and it gets them talking.
Instead of just being like, hey, new product, you ask, what features do you want to see?
Exactly. Or like if you're a fitness coach, instead of just posting those workout routines, you ask your followers, what's your biggest fitness challenge, or what keeps you motivated?
I bet you get some really interesting answers.
You would be surprised.
Now, we've talked about the AI chatbots, but SocialWick also mentioned some downsides of relying on them too much. Did that raise any red flags for you?
It's all about finding the balanced chatbots. Chatbots are great for those quick questions and giving instant answers.
Yeah.
But if they're not done well, they can feel really impersonal or even annoying.
Oh, I've definitely been stuck in those chatbot loops that just go nowhere.
Yeah.
It makes you feel like you're talking to a brick wall.
Exactly. So use them strategically for stuff like FAQs.
Okay.
But for anything more complex, anything that needs a human touch,
Yeah.
make sure it's easy for people to actually talk to a real person.
So use tech to help, but don't let it replace that human connection.
Exactly.
And speaking of connection, we should circle back to Facebook groups. We talked about how good they are for community building,
Yeah,
but there's so much more to explore there.
for sure. Groups can really turn those passive followers into active, engaged members of your community.
I love that.
It's a space where they can connect with other people who get them. Ask questions, offer support, even work together.
It's like a little virtual clubhouse for your brand's biggest fans.
Exactly. It all starts with purpose. What's the big idea behind your group? What kind of discussions do you want to see? What are you offering to members? Once you have that vision, you can find the right people and make them feel like they belong.
It's about creating a welcoming space where people feel valued.
Yeah. And being active moderator yourself, jump into those conversations, answer questions, encourage people, make sure everyone's voice is heard.
It's like hosting a killer party. You set the vibe, make introductions, keep things flowing, make sure everyone's having a good time.
That's a great way to put it. And just like a great party, the best Facebook groups are the ones where people feel comfortable being themselves, sharing their thoughts, and connecting with each other.
Okay, so we talked about building that community on your main page and in groups, but what about all the other stuff on Facebook? Like, do stories or events even matter in 2025?
Absolutely. It's easy to get caught up in all the new shiny things, but all those Facebook features can be effective if you use them.
Right? Don't forget about the classics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Stories are still awesome
Yeah.
for that behind-the-scenes content, giving people a glimpse into your world, that feeling of you had to be there.
It's a more casual way to connect. What about events?
Events are definitely still relevant, They're great for promoting anything online or offline workshops, product launches, whatever.
Right.
They create buzz and get people talking.
It's like a marketing tool built right in. So don't limit yourself to just one or two strategies.
Yeah.
Experiment, try new things, find what clicks with your audience.
Exactly. And remember, Facebook's always changing. So stay curious, keep learning, and adapt.
It's like we're on this crazy social media roller coaster.
Haha. That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But that's part of what makes it fun, right?
It is fun. There's always something new to learn, a new approach, to try a new way to connect with our people.
You got
I'm feeling inspired, but honestly, this whole engagement thing can feel overwhelming. Sometimes you get caught up in the pressure to constantly create content, chase those algorithms, measure everything by likes and comments.
I know what you mean. It can be exhausting trying to keep up.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's so important to take a step back sometimes and remember what's actually important.
You mean like our sanity?
Uh-huh. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the quality of the connections we're making.
Oh.
Are we creating stuff that actually add value to people's lives? Are we building a community where people feel supported and inspired?
Those are the real questions, not just how many likes did this get?
Exactly.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the best Facebook strategies focus on relationships, not just numbers.
That's a great point. It reminds us that social media is about connecting with other humans, and that should be the foundation of everything we do.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So much good stuff about engagement and building a community, but like, where do we go from here? What's the one thing you're taking away from all this?
It is a lot to take in, right?
Yeah.
But the real magic happens when you actually start doing something.
Put it into practice.
Exactly. Maybe it's trying out those reels, seeing if you can find a trending sound that works for you.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's really diving deep into those Facebook insights to figure out when your people are actually online.
I'm thinking about that Facebook group idea myself. I've been kind of hesitant to start one, but hearing you talk about it, I'm starting to see the possibilities.
It could be huge for connecting with your audience in a whole new way.
For real.
And remember, it doesn't have to be perfect right out of the gate.
Right.
Building a community takes time and effort, but it's so worth it. Just take that first step, create the group, invite some people, and see what happens.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired. I
Yeah.
think my action item this week is to brainstorm some ideas for my Facebook group. What about you? What are you going to try?
I've been meaning to play around with those AI chatbots.
Hmm?
I'm a little skeptical, but I'm curious to see if they can actually improve the experience on my page. Maybe I'll set one up and see how it goes.
That's a great idea. It's all about experimenting and finding what works for you. And remember, Facebook is always changing, so we got to be ready to adapt.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
What works today might not work tomorrow.
Exactly. Got to stay curious, keep learning. And most importantly, we got to remember that behind every profile picture, there's a real person.
For sure.
Let's treat each other with kindness, respect, and authenticity, online and offline.
Well said.
All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into Facebook engagement in 2025. We explored strategies, trends, and the most important thing, the human connection that makes it all worthwhile.
It's been great chatting with you.
And a huge thanks to you for listening. Until next time, keep experimenting, keep connecting, and keep those engagement fires burning bright.